Another day, another cycle that we gotta fight. Pedal through the pain, easy as riding a bike. Oh, thinking about you and I'm praying whenever I type. I cannot commit to anything after the night falls. Murder in college should not be.
Welcome to another Buzz Slayers interview. Today we have Floco Torres. Thank you so much for being here, dude. Welcome. I have so much stuff to touch base with you on because you sent me the Creative Life record and it was just crazy. I mean, this was, and I've of course listened to your previous stuff. It's always really in depth. There's always layers to your stuff. But this record felt different. This was a record that kind of it felt like you were going through chapters in your life or something like that. You know what I mean? It was very, very right. It was very in depth. The production was ridiculous. It was very, outside the box production. It was just a very and you get really deep with with the storytelling. The inner thoughts come spilling out a lot of the time. It's experimental. There was a lot of stuff going on. So I wanted to ask all right, so I don't even know where to, let's start with this record actually, because it was just such a big record, man. It was way more than I expected. So let's start with the musical points of this album. So you are a producer. Did you produce these beats yourself or?
Yeah, I produced the whole thing. I had some co-production on Crater Lake.
That's a great one.
Maybe one other song, but primarily I did everything.
Wow, dude, the whole intro track, 1986, where it's you're going, you start. That's your whole kind of getting into the life and all that stuff. That was I loved the vibe of the rapping over the classical guitar type of thing going on. That was just a really cool aspect. But you produced all these beats yourself for the whole record?
Yeah,
pretty much.
It wasn't the intention when I got on the road to say all right, I'm putting out a full length somewhere within the next year. It was just nothing was aligning with anybody I was trying to work with, and everything kept pushing me towards, well, you just do it. And then I kind of got comfortable. And once I made Nonstop early, and I made the beat to Foundations early. And I don't even remember how I made it. I was just kind of in a flow state. And then that's when I realized, I was oh, the things I'm trying to say, this is for me to do all of it. For it to be said the way it needs to be said, for it to sound the way it needs to sound, I have to do it. So I just kind of leaned into it.
And did you find that to be a bigger, it feels like that's such a bigger undertaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never done a full length by myself with very little. I didn't really share records with people. I had maybe two friends I played the Foundations beat for. I played You're Not Wrong for, but the rest of it was really just trusting. I was I'm just gonna trust that I know what to do and where this is going and see what happens.
Do you have also kind of a home setup that you are writing the beats with at home, the kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I made the album primarily on my Machine MK3. I made a few songs in FL Studio. I think that was You're Not Wrong, 1986.
Ooh, yeah.
But I did everything primarily on the Machine because I really wanted to just kind of branch out with the sounds, and it was really fun. This is the first album that I played everything out, because I usually play everything on the keys, the samples.
Right.
I like to chop like that. This is the first album where I was just actual drum machine on everything. And I got I kind of pushed myself past a limit. I was oh, there's so much more I can do with this. I can get a lot better with this.
And how long did it take you to complete this album? From start to finish, aside from the beats you did earlier and stuff like that, how long did that take?
I want to say about a year. A lot of projects that you have, I've had this name since 2012 or 2013. And it was primarily because I did an album called Floco's Modern Life, which was my first full-length album in 2011. It was my first live band album. I learned a bunch of shit, a bunch of do's and don'ts. That album's now on streaming for a reason. I was I don't need that out there. So I've had the idea for a long time. But when I said, I was I'm putting out a full length record, it was probably about a year and some change, where I everything I made, I was like, it's going in this bucket to try and figure it out. So it took me about a year and 2 or 3 months.
So then let me ask you this, dude. Did you, don't even tell me yes to this, okay? Because don't even say yes to this, but did you mix the record?
No.
Okay.
I have mixed records in the past. There was a moment where I thought I was going to, and my buddy Fedge that mixed and mastered the album, he had kind of been hinting toward it for a while, like with my group Free Black. He was like, y'all want to do a record for y'all? I want to do a record for y'all. And we did a live show thing with him in 2023. So he just kind of popped up in my head, and I was like, I think this thing sounds different, and I want it to sound right. And everything I've seen Fedge do and be a part of, it sounds right, like it comes out. And I was like, I'm already taking a chance producing the whole record, like trying to get this thing out there by myself, doing the direct to consumer thing on the website. And I was like, well, let me just go with a different engineer. And it was great working with him.
Did you sit in on a lot of that mixing?
Yeah, I'm in on everything. Like I'm the hands-on guy. I've been like that since the beginning. Because one, it was like, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what I'm paying for. And then two, it was kind of like, I let people early on in my career kind of guide when it came to the soundscapes and the mixing and stuff. And it came out the way it came out. And I was like, oh, no. I gotta be in on every snare, every reverb, So I was in there the whole time. I was in there broke, like, hey man, I'm gonna pay you half today. But
you're in there.
Yeah. But I was in there for every single session.
And so when it comes to the vocal parts, do you do that part at home too? Or did you go to a different kind of studio to track vocals and stuff like that?
Nah, I got it set up at my spot, and, got the room set up where I get a good vocal sound.
Yeah.
And I can just kind of experiment and do it how I want to do it. Like some stuff I write, some stuff I don't. Some stuff is like, I'll try the line by line thing. It's not really my favorite process, but with this album I wanted to try it because I, as descriptive as I was being, because it's the creative life of an artist, but then it transformed into my life as I kept writing. The original idea was to make an album to help people understand what it's like to be an artist for life, for living. And the universe pushed me towards, no, you need to say there are things that you need to say and you need to get out, and this is the album to do it. So my setup that I have here, it was just like very comfortable to be uncomfortable, essentially, and just try different ways. And it's funny too, like I listen to it now, and there's so much that I put in there that kind of put a lot of my personal relationships in places they needed to be.
Right.
Like I've reconciled with people that heard stuff on the record and was just like, wow, you remember that from a kid. Like my mom was like, oh, you remember everything that happened, and you were able to express it in a way of gratitude, but also like this is what I went through. And then there are other things that I was saying in personal relationships where people are gone, and that had to happen too, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So it's for yourself. Yeah. Like there's a song on the album, Get Back to Yourself. And when things started moving the way that they were moving, that was the first thing that came to mind. Is like, oh yeah, you wrote this. Like you wrote kind of like I'm gonna get back to me, and whoever is around for that and through that process, that's great. And if you're not here for that and you don't have the whatever,
then whatever. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
How, when did this start for you in terms of like knowing that you wanted to, finding out that you had a lot of creative output to put out there? When did you first kind of realize that?
That was probably 15, 16, something like that. Like when I first started rapping, like my little rhyme books and things. I still have some of them. I think my mom still has some of them or something like that. Like there was just that I had comic books when I was a kid, and was always drawing and writing and stuff like that. So that was one thing they encouraged me to do, is be very expressive in my own ways. So I'm always appreciative of that, regardless of like everything that was happening around me. They made sure I had outlets to do things, whether it was sports, whether it was playing instruments, drawing, journaling, whatever. So yeah, probably around my teenage years when I first started realizing I enjoyed, like, whatever that was, I enjoyed it, and I wanted to do that all the time, and I had to figure out how to do it all the time. You know what I mean?
Right. Isn't that the thing, though? Isn't that the thing? It's like figuring out how I'm going to do this all the time. And you've made it such a major part of your life. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned your producer that you worked with previously. You said you did a live thing. I watched this showcase that you did. Was that the thing that he worked on with you on, the showcase?
Nah, that was that was with Western Arts Alliance. It's a arts organization out of Portland. This past year, I got selected as one of their like juried artists, and I got to go to San Diego and perform and stuff like that. But a part of the grant was they shoot this showcase for you.
Yeah,
like they send you all the cameras and stuff like that, and they shoot this showcase for you remote that you can use for booking and so on and so forth. So when I got that while I was working on the album, I was like, oh, okay, bet these things will line up where I'll have this showcase that's professionally shot, and I'll get to include some of the stuff from the album that I could start trying to book festivals and all of that or whatever. So that's what that was. Now, Fedge did, he did, Free Black has an album called Live at Cave Akron that is on streaming services. He just recorded the show because it was HR3's birthday. And I don't remember if he told us he was going to do that. I can't remember. But he just kind of like, he just dropped this album in our lap. And we had a whole live album. It was like, all right, cool. So,
all right, cool. Yeah, no, you're probably like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, it was like, all right, we'll put that out there. And then that also, I felt like that bought me time too, because I had started working on the album, like start, stop, and I was trying to solidify Free Black's output as well as my output. So that kind of bought me time, and I was like, all right, Free Black just put something out. Y'all go check that out. And then I can be over here trying to figure out what this process
working on this big record. Yeah. See, I mean, and then also, so I watched that showcase. That was like sick, dude. I mean, it was a good, chunk of time there. And you went into different stuff. I watched it on YouTube. It was awesome. And I was going to ask you about live performances and like, how often do you like play a lot of live shows? I saw some stuff on the website too, that you're doing live shows. Is that a big part of your thing, performing live?
It was for a while. I'm trying to get back to it in a more sustainable way. Obviously, all of us stopped playing between 2020 and like 2022, and it just changed the landscape of what touring is, what shows make sense. So now I'm just trying to be really intentional about the ones that I do play. I'm able to present the show that I want. So the live show now with these album songs has visuals that goes with it, that Fedge runs. He plays guitar, cues the tracks from the MPC. You saw the showcase with Andrew and Miguel on
so
keys.
Good.
It's like the show has to be, I got to a point with my solo stuff where it was like I was kind of taking anything at times, and you end up playing the show where it's just me out there with the laptop and my pedal board and the effects and stuff. And it's like I got to cue the tracks, I'm running samples, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that anymore. So it's like, if you get the Floco Torres show, it's got to be one of these versions that I'm presenting now. And if we can't present it in that way, you can't afford it, whatever the thing is, I'm cool with like sitting some shows out. You know what I mean? So
because you produce all your own stuff too, do you have like, and you have your own spot, your own thing that you produce at home, your home studio, and you use beat machines and all kinds of cool shit like that. Do you have like, I'm assuming this is going to be an assumption, but I'm assuming you probably have like, a slew of tracks that just are there that haven't, do you have anything that you've made that's like, oh, I'm not going to release this, or you put on the back burner, or tracks that just go in the trash? Anything like that happen?
Yeah. I got one of these whiteboards over here. There's like 2 projects that I already have the name for. I have the concept for. I just need to, like this one, there's 10 tracks for that one that are in that bucket. And then there will be stuff that didn't make the album. There's stuff that you kind of make in between. Like I did features for people that didn't make their records or whatever. Right. So like you got that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I've got like a decent amount left over. It's not as much as I used to, because I used to pride myself on that bullshit where it's like you record all the time. So like I got 1,000 unreleased tracks. Like,
It's like a cool thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's such bullshit. It's right up there with the like Team No Sleep and all of that we were doing between 2011 and 2014. It's like, no, go to bed. No, the world doesn't need any more ideas. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. You're so right, dude. You're so right.
I've got stuff left over. And then the performance thing you were saying, no, I think I want to just rethink all of it. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for a long time. So what motivated me in my 20s about being an artist and getting to a certain level doesn't motivate me the same way now. So I want to be just as in the creating process as I want to be in the performance art process and the live show process. So I'm looking at these shows now as kind of like the recording process. Like, how can I do this song differently? Like, what set list can I do for this room, as opposed to we're just playing shows and we're trying to promote the album. And if the crowd is going to be primarily different, we're going to do the same set. And it's like, no, I'm doing a different version of the set every show and trying to, work out my blocking on stage. Like, I'm usually right here when I get to this line. Can I be closer to the front of the stage, in front of the crowd? Like, I'm trying to have more fun with those things the same way I have fun with the intricacies of being in the studio and creating.
Was it something where it's like you had a certain set of tracks that you musically created and then you were like, all right, I'm going to go? Or was it like, I have this notebook full of the first 6 tracks on this record and it's all written out in words, and now I got to make which way was it?
It was both ways. And I think looking back on the process now, realizing I was really being guided by the universe, because I was just trusting. I was just like, all right, I'm producing this thing. I'm shutting everything down and I'm focusing on this. So it would be, yes, I'd make a couple of beats and then the words didn't come that day. And I was like, all right, cool. Like Foundations, I think I had the Who Am I part. I had that alone for 6 months. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this, because I made that beat switch and I was like, I love this, but I have no idea what the fuck to do with this.
Yeah, right.
Songs like Nonstop, I made that beat and wrote that verse and the chorus. I wrote the verse, didn't have a chorus. I was in line at a coffee shop, and you know how coffee is now this like science experiment every fucking where?
Yeah.
Like, so somebody gets one and then you're waiting for 20 minutes before they can get you one.
Yeah.
And I had the beats in my headphones of the ones that I needed to write to. And I just mumbled the chorus to Nonstop because I was waiting for that thing. And I have this thing I'm working on personally with time of trying to be less controlling, be more patient, and things like that. And that was my way of getting through waiting for that coffee. And I came back home and played the beat, and I was like, yo, this works. So it just kind of happens. And then there were times where when I felt like I was getting stuck, I would switch up the process. So if I made 4 or 5 beats and no lyrics were coming that week, then I went the other way. And I was like, all right, well, what am I actually trying to say? Like, what's something I'm trying to say? And I'd write a verse and then try and fit it to something. And that would kind of break me out of the monotony of what I was doing. Because again, this was my first record doing it like this. So I had no process. Like, I was building a process as I was going, and just trying to be kind to myself, which is not something I'm very good at. Just being like, yo, this doesn't have to be pretty. It's just get to the other side of it and see who you are on the other side of the album.
So I wanted to ask you, first of all, you are a graphic designer as well, or do I have that wrong?
Yeah.
So is that, obviously when you say that you're doing like the showcases and you have the all that stuff up there, and your boy cued all that shit, that's your artwork that you created for the shows, or is that just artwork that you created that you combine them together with the music?
We kind of did the stuff for the show. We did together. There were some ideas. Once we started getting into the visuals, he was like, well, what emotion do we want to have, and colors and things like that. So we worked through that stuff together. I think my graphic design, because I do all my album covers and things like that.
I was just going to ask that. That was going to be something I was going to, because this album cover is sick, dude. Even the album cover, dude, I don't even, looking at the album cover, that made me think of a VHS cover from like, the mid to late. So you were going for that.
Yeah. So I wanted to.
I knew it.
I'm so glad I didn't do this. I was gonna mail it in and just do a headshot. We kept talking about that during the mixing process, and we would go upstairs at Fedge's house, and he's got all these records, and he kept showing me these like old vinyl of just like the headshot, name of the artist, name of the album. It's like, you could do something like that. And I had toyed with that a little bit, and I was like, there's just too much in this album for it to say what it needs to say with it just being my face. So then I was like, and then I thought about that, and I was like, well, how do I symbolize all of the things that I'm trying to say? And then I was like, symbolism. Okay. So then I just started like compiling cutouts of shit, like the keyboard, the Liberty Place skyscraper from Philly, all of that. And as I started putting it together, and I was like, this makes more sense.
One of the last questions I wanted to ask you, and this is a toughie, dude. So, you know, excuse me. Some people don't like this question. Right. So if I were to ask you, you can think about it for a minute, could be anybody. If I were to ask you your top 5 musical influences of all time, what would you tell me?
Currently constructed in no particular order would be Stevie Wonder, Jay-Z. I don't know if St. Vincent would be in my top 5, but I'm gonna put St. Vincent there. I'm not gonna say his name right now. He got too much going on. He fell out of the top. What did I say? Stevie Wonder, Jay.
Were you gonna say Kanye?
Yeah. Stevie Wonder, Jay. Whatever. Kanye. I don't know.
I love Kanye. I don't care. Just to be clear, where I stand on shit. Not that it matters to you, but I don't care. To me, it doesn't really matter too much. Everyone's got shit. You know what I mean? Except for the whole, I'm not going to say that dude's name, who's all over the news right now. But when it comes to artists like Kanye, whatever, he's got some shit, right? I just remember what's going on right now with Kanye. It's crazy. Yeah. But anyway, the point is, like, everyone's got their shit. As an artist, Kanye is fucking brilliant, dude. Yeah. Straight up brilliant. And when I listened to the record, I did hear Jay-Z and I did hear Kanye in there. Influentially. You know,
there's definitely
you can say easy. It's cool. Go ahead.
Stevie, Hove, St. Vincent, Kanye, and I'm trying to think between these last.
That's tough. I know.
That fifth one is tough because I'm trying to think of somebody from R&B or like soul that I grew up on, and the names are just escaping me. I think for right now, I'm gonna say Shaka Khan.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say Shaka Khan because
what a voice.
Yeah, and just I think that there was just an overall coolness to her.
Oh yeah.
In that period of her career, and she's one of the artists that I revisit in chunks for just like the vibe, for just like the energy. Like I know things kind of went left in her life or something like that or whatever, but there was just that period of her career and those early, like late teens, early to mid 20s, late 20s and stuff like that, where it was just like she just had aura, like everything
she owned.
She did.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's something when I'm trying to just tap into supreme confidence, I kind of go back to these moments of just like listening to Shaka Khan, like watching her videos and stuff like that. So I think that currently constructed right now, those would be my 5.
Thank you again for doing this. Creative Life is out everywhere. NobodyCaresNews.com, I think, is the site where you can get the physical CDs or cassettes, which I love. Thanks for coming in and doing this. I appreciate it.
1986, breathing. Another day, another soul's leaving. 1986, breathing. Another day.